And he said a certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, "Give me the portion of goods that falls to me." And he divided to them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. Luke 15:11-13. The son decided to leave the comfort of his home and test the waters of independence. We've all craved that flaky freedom at some point in our lives. In this video, I will discuss the dangers of independence without God. I will show the examples pulled straight out of my life story. You will see a picture painted of the miserable existence without Him. I'm Josiah Hall, and this is True Freedom Ministries. The son took his share and went and squandered away on harlots, wine, and only God knows what else. Base pleasures are what he sought and longed for. Can you place yourself in a similar situation? Lord knows that I can. I spread my wings and left the nest at the young age of 16. I received no inheritance, but I equally squandered my livelihood away. Parties, drinking, sex, and drugs kept me at full attention. Base pleasures had become the driving force in my life as well. On a very small scale, I began peddling drugs to feed the ravenous beast that was growing inside me. It helped me get this illusion of power, provided a little extra spending cash, and gave me a feeling of superiority. I was no longer feeling like a nobody. My involvement in such foolishness had led to a Class B felony conviction and a lengthy 15-year prison sentence. Was that my wake-up call? No. My riotous living continued even inside the confines of prison. I substituted other acts to feed the hunger I'd acquired. For the mind of an addict, substitution and replacement become like a second nature. I joined a racist prison gang and began involving myself in everything from drug smuggling to extortion rackets. I remember times when I was in prison that I would call my mom from cell phones. After 7 years and 9 months, I made parole the first time. The party didn't stop. If anything, it only got worse. I began to drink heavily and live a sexually promiscuous life. I was working a wonderful job, driving a convertible Mustang, and living a pleasure-oriented life. On July 27, 2014, I was working out of state in Ponca City, Oklahoma. After work that evening, I went to a nightclub. I involved myself in some business that wasn't mine, got in a physical altercation that resulted in traumatic brain injury and a coma for 2.5 months. Unfortunately, that still wasn't enough. After a partial recovery and a month and a half in physical therapy, I was released from the hospital. Something that was as simple as walking became hard for me. I was now intimidated by drinking, so I chose a substitute. The seed of destruction being methamphetamines. I was convinced that I would be a responsible drug abuser. Little did I know that unicorns, and fairies all live in fairy tales. I would stop usage roughly 3 days before seeing my parole officer so that I could pass a drug screen. That quickly failed when she called me one day and was like, "Hey, I need you to report for a random drug screen." Needless to say, I did test positive. She stipulated an inpatient rehab, and I went on the run. My money soon dried up, so I sold my car to the dealer for a little more. Not long after, I was homeless. I was sleeping in a tent. I was bathing in a creek out in Saline Valley near Lake Ozark, Missouri. After about a month living like that, the pain of continuing to do so far outweighed the pain of just turning myself in. My parole was revoked and I was sent back to prison. Upon arrival at the institution, I hit the ground running. I was continuing to get high and had adopted a paranoid mind state. I was convinced that everyone was trying to get me. Throughout the state, my gang was at war with a rival. So paranoia, anxiety, stress, and, well, I'd become pretty well acquainted with all three. On December 28th, the inevitable happened. The gangs went to war, and my involvement landed me in the hole. I owed the state some money for unpaid intervention fees that accumulated when I was on parole. This left me living on $5 per month. On February 2nd, 2016, the investigator came to my cell with a sergeant. And not only did he read me my rights, he also read me a major conduct violation for a 6.1 riot. On March 8th, I went to see the parole board from the hole in shackles and handcuffs. They extended me for 17 more months. Broke, isolated, and devastated, I was transferred to a facility for the safety, security, and good order of the previous institution. When he came to himself, he said, "How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough to spare? And I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no more worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of your hired servants." Luke 15:17-19. When all had been squandered away, it appears that the son came to his senses. Someone once told me that the only way you can hit rock bottom is if you stop digging. Having lost everything, starving and feeding the hogs seemed to be his breaking point. Sometimes being reduced to nothing is what it takes to see yourself as you truly are. Upon arrival at my new institution, I too had been reduced to nothing. A sad existence is what my life had become. Worry, stress, fear, depression, and numerous other victimized feelings. Then a glimmer of light shined in the darkness that enveloped me. As is written in Isaiah 9:2, "The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them has this light shined." Angela loaned me a book to read by Katie Souza titled "The Key to Your Expected End." She talked about peace, prosperity, happiness, joy, blessings, and everything that I wanted but didn't have. She was receiving such from the Father I left. It was time to go home. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. Luke 15:20. Daily, the father was looking up the road in hopes of seeing his son. The son had depleted his finances on wasteful living. For the longest, he fed the sinful lust of the flesh. As unfortunate as it is, sometimes we must all learn the hard way. The hard way inspired me to pursue the life that Katie Souza talked about in her book. I humbly admitted defeat and allowed the Father to direct my paths. I called on that name and found mercy and forgiveness. From gangbanging, drug addicted, homeless, poor, depressed, confused, stressed, angry, prisoner, to college student, 4.0 GPA on the President's List at Argosy University, in a promising relationship with a good godly woman, rebuilding the broken relationship with my son, running this God-given ministry, and actively pursuing the better life that the Father longs to give me. I didn't find condemnation and punishment of which I deserved, but rather blessings. To any and all walking in the land of the lost, call unto the Father, and he will hear and answer you. For this, my son was dead, and is alive again. He was lost, and is found. And they began to be merry. Luke 15:24. I pray that you found this video inspirational and encouraging. If you are the son this parable speaks of, go home. The Father is anxiously awaiting your return. I would like to ask you to do 3 things. First, if you found the video informative and you would like to hear more, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell icon. Doing so will notify you when I produce my latest video. Go ahead, do it now. Second, hit the like icon and give it a thumbs up. Why don't you go ahead and do that now too? Lastly, leave a comment at the bottom letting me know what to agree with you in prayer for. Once again, I'm Josiah Hall with True Freedom Ministries. Remember, he that the Son sets free is free indeed. Love and prayers, always.